Okay, this is just a very short video I'm going to do here to show some of the actions of New Die Fighting 2 to accompany my ongoing game with it. As you can see, there's a banana reaction turn pull for the Prussians in this case, which tells you basically that you can, all infantry types on the table for that side can basically move, deploy, manoeuvre, melee, and they can units without fire markers by fire at any time. That's simply a reminder that they can do that any time during the turn, but it's included on the infantry card. You can fire at any time during the enemy turn, during your own turn. What happens is you just get marked with a puff of smoke, simply like the guns have. So it's not tied down to their phases as such. Now, as you can see here, we have a Prussian line regiment. Okay, who are just average troops. What I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a charge on this French line regiment. Now the distance is less than 6 inches, so there'll be no bonuses. So what happens is the Prussian gets 2 red dice, which he uses from his resources pool. So that's 2 off his resource. He declares his charge, he then checks these charts which come with the game, which basically give you all your free dice, rerolls, things like that. So looking at that, for the Prussians in the movement, they're in an attack column moving independently, so they get to reroll their lowest dice, and they also get 1 free dice. So a free dice in the game is basically a green dice. If I wanted, I could add command dice, but I don't think we'll need to with the distance that's involved here. So it's a matter of rolling the 3 dice. Okay, we have 8 inches, which would be enough to get in. If I wanted, I could re-roll that dice to give me more. Is how the game works. If you're granted a reroll, you can reroll your lowest dice generally. Crack troops can always reroll their lowest dice. If you're to roll multiples, sometimes depending on your class, the free dice tables, you may, like crack troops get to reroll multiples. So if you roll say 2 1s, you could reroll those, hoping to get better. Poor troops can't reroll multiples, things like that. But in this case, this is more than enough distance for these boys to get in, because they're only 4 inches apart. Also, if they were more than 6 inches away for infantry or 12 for cavalry and they declared a charge, if they roll any doubles, that gives them extra green dice in combat, but that didn't occur here. Conversely, if you roll a triple, that puts you in disorder when you make contact, okay, which is obviously a downside. So what we'll do is move these in. Okay, so in they go. Now the French being unloaded could fire if they wanted, but that particular command is very low in dice, so I'm not going to. We're going to hope to fight by using some of our command dice, because if you can see just behind in the shot there, the French commander has 3 dice, being an average commander, but he's within reasonable distance, so he's a good chance of boosting his defenders. Whereas the Prussian commander is a wee bit off the action, whilst he has 5 dice being Fabian. He may or may not be able to add dice to the roll. What we'll see as that goes on. Try to get this positioned. So there we have it. So again, it takes another 2 from the Prussian resource pool, okay, to conduct the melee. The French also, as defenders, must deduct 2 from theirs, which is why they're not wanting to fire, because they're down to about 3 or 4 cards, so they're going to deduct 2. So for the attackers, they'll start off again with their 2 red dice as their basis. Okay, they're not going to add any command dice, so checking for in the attacker melee factors. If I can just show you that. Don't want to give the game away for Bob here, but it's a frontal attack, so there's nothing. They're not a guard or elite, so there's nothing there. Defender's not disordered, so nothing. Both flanks supported, not particularly. We could call the guns on one flank, but since there's an enemy on the other flank, we'll not count that. Again, attacker charged successfully multiples, but he didn't score any, and he wasn't charging beyond 6. He's not mounted. Defenders are not militia or untrained or irregulars, so all he gets is 1 free dice for being in assault column or depth, which is essentially the cavalry version. Okay, so that's what he gets to roll. So he rolls 2 3s and a 4. Now that's a 10. He can, being regular troops, re-roll the 2 3s as a double, hoping to get better, which is what he'll do. And there we get exactly the same. So he's on a big 10. Now the French, on the other hand, being defenders, which is on a different part of the track, as you can see there. If I can get it in shot. There's no cover, it's not higher ground. The attackers in column and route, no, that's like march column or skirmishers. The attackers aren't irregular. Defenders not guard or elite. Defenders support on both flanks will check. And defenders assault column, which is, so he'll get a free dice. Attackers not disordered. So support to both flanks. I would say this flank's open, although he has support to that one. Flank support is basically anything able to intervene within 6 inches. However, since troops behind are disordered with a black dice, they've routed, in other words, they're not really capable of supporting. So they're basically on their 2 red resource dice, 1 green free dice, the same as the attackers for their column. But what they can do is try and add in dice from their commander. Okay, so what he does, he has 3 dice, so he rolls his 3 dice for distance, in which he gets a 6, a 4, and a 2, making 12. So he can send, I should have declared how many, but we'll say 2. He could declare sending dice, he's only within 6 inches, so what he'll do is, he'll send 1 dice instead and declare it, so that goes from his force pool, but he gets to add 1 command dice to his roll then. Okay, so against the 10 which they rolled, he's rolling the same dice with the command dice added. Doesn't get any rerolls for his type or anything, so there's no doubles to reroll, so he's on 9, 10, 11, 12, so he wins that combat. He wins it by less than 6, so the Prussians, who have been defeated, have the choice to spend 2 resources to basically mitigate that morale effect, or they could retreat 2 inches and go disordered. Maybe not the best idea, because being disordered troops later in the turn, the enemy charges would be disadvantaged. So what they do is they spend 2 resource cards. I use playing cards rather than dice, but it's 2 resources from their pool. So failing that, they would retreat the difference, which is 2 inches, and be disordered somewhere around here. I simply in my game use little yellow pipe cleaner for disorder, but as I say, I'm not going to do that with them, so we'll leave them as is.